Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. My daughter, Agnes, died at the age of 26 in a helicopter crash just south of Siberia. The official report said that it was known that they were going to crash for at least 5 whole minutes before the vehicle actually hit the ground. They all had time to make some form of contact with their family and loved ones. Except Agnes. I'd missed her 3 calls on my number as I had been on the verge of blackout drunk and had consciously pressed the big red hang-up button each time. I hadn't wanted her to hear the way that my voice croaked after I found the way on the bottom of a bottle. When they told me I was on enough dope to kill a small horse and had spent the next 3 days spread eagle on the floor without moving a muscle until the withdrawals got so bad I couldn't see, I crawled to the door and out into the street until an ambulance had picked me up. I was numb, broken. If I'd been an addict before, the crash sent me into a nosedive. I began to drink as if it could physically fill the hole that I had felt within me, and on the nights where I could see the end clearly, I'd find a vein that wasn't shriveled and crusted and shoot up until I saw stars. Even though the grief would make my bones burn under my skin, I felt like a fraud. I hadn't been there for most of her life. Shit, if I'm being honest, I'd missed almost all of it. I'd given myself every excuse in the book. I'd embarrassed her, I'd damaged her in some way. I was toxic. Every ounce of self-pity I'd used up in finding ways, ultimately, not to be her father. It didn't stop her though. She was tenacious, determined. She called every Christmas and every one of my birthdays. Her mother told me she never understood why, even though I hadn't picked up once. She said she spent every day looking forward to her calls. I was slouching my way back home when I saw it first. The hotel, that is. The huge, intimidating building with brass letterings across the front. Hotel Non-Dormant. I knew it then, as if the thoughts had been engraved into the folds of my brain, and this is where I was going to do it. I was too much of a coward for real suicide. But I had enough in my savings to get me the shittiest room for a month or 2 and could work on drinking and imbibing myself to death. It was a strange sort of clarity. It was almost maybe the clearest, sharpest thought that I'd had in years. I was going to kill myself, and this was where I was going to do it. I wasn't much of a father. I wasn't much of a husband, or at least hadn't been for all of the 3 months that I'd give it a shot. I wasn't even a very good drunk. But I could do this. I staggered in, already half a bottle down. The foyer was carpeted of deep red, and I remember thinking about how vast the whole place was. Would I even be able to get a room? I stumbled a little and found myself at the check-in desk. No sign of anyone. A small sign that read, back in 8 minutes. I hit the buzzer once, twice, and just as my finger was posed to hit it the 3rd time, there was a click. A rush of voices slowly muted into static, and then a woman's voice emerged. Room 127. I hadn't even asked yet. Did you want a room or not? I was so relieved at the fact I didn't have to talk for any longer. Didn't have to try and mask the way my words were starting to slur into one another, that I just agreed. Sure. There was a noise behind me, and I turned to see a small bellboy in a strange little outfit that matched the carpet. No bag, sorry. He just shrugged, no problem. Cat got your tongue there? And that's when he opened his mouth and pointed at the pink stub where his tongue should be. Shit. There was a clink, and when I turned back to the desk I could see that my key was dead center. Room 127. I tried to look around, but there was no one else. Just silence. I thought I'd stop at the bar and try whatever they had to offer and haul it up to my room. Some sort of strange partying gift, watching the world around me as I settled in on the end of my life. I must have looked to state, unshaven, stinking of booze and cigarettes, eyes red and puffy from crying, flakes of vomited caking in my scraggly beard as I started to develop. I remember a few patrons giving me a strange look. A tall man relishing a scotch, clearly distracted by a woman in a white sundress. An old couple, a nervous-looking pair on the end of a table on their own. The bartender was odd as well. wearing some sort of baby blue medical mask over his face. I just slouched over to the bar, trying my best to act sober, determined to at least have one drink here. He appeared in front of me. As I was about to ask for a drink, he placed a tall glass of water in front of me. I looked at him for a while, trying to see if this was a hint or an act of kindness he extended to all customers. I could see the bottle of Jack behind him, half full of amber liquid, lit by the below like a painting. The words began in my throat, and a double of Jack, please, but died before they could make it out of my lips. Something stirred. A memory. It was a memory of one of Agnes's plays that I'd turned up late and had to sit in the back. I made so much racket that one of the three wise men had forgotten his lines. I'd missed almost all of her part, but she still couldn't help but wave in that funny little lamb outfit. I remember thinking how much she looked like her mother, how much she smiled like me, lopsided and toothy. I wasn't even there for 10 minutes when I tasted the Jack I had had for breakfast at the back of my throat, mixing with the hot bile, and I felt my mouth start to fill with saliva. My head start to spin. I vomited outside the school hall 3 times. Vomited so hard that I popped a blood vessel in my eye. Too embarrassed to stay until the end, I'd walked the whole way home. She had waited on the steps outside for 2 hours in her sheep outfit, pinching her nose to hide the smell, telling her mom over and over again that I would come back. She was sure of it. I'd woken up the next morning without my coat behind a dumpster. I hadn't even thought of going back. The bartender still hadn't said anything, so I spoke up. On second thoughts. And with that, I downed the whole bottle of water and made my way up to my room. I threw my coat on the floor and collapsed into the bed. The bottle I had stashed in my pocket winked at me, making lewd suggestions, whispering to me, but I had held fast. I had taken to counting the cracks in the ceilings when the phone rang. Had I screwed up already? I ran through 1,000 reasons why they might want me, and with a sense of dread, I had picked up the phone. Call number 1. I spoke cautiously. Hello? Who is this? A giggle. A child's giggle. Who's this? You called me. The tone was light. Whoever they were enjoying this. I'm sorry, you must have the wrong number. I've just checked in and... I felt grief tug at my chest and a flash of self-loathing ran through my mind. My throat constricted and I thought if I talked any longer, I might cry on the phone. To a child. I started to apologize. I'm sorry, I have to go. What's your favorite animal? The question was so direct it took me a second to process it. It was so honest and so innocent that it cut through anything else. What is my favorite animal? I hadn't thought about that in years. Do adults even have favorite animals? Hello? Hold on, I'm thinking. The child on the other end tutted, but stayed on the line. I had thought about when Agnes was 2 and we had taken her to the zoo. One of her first words was monkey, although she had pronounced it munye, munye, she'd shout, whenever they'd come up to the glass, whooping all their limbs and fur with those funny faces and strange little half dances. Monkey. My favorite animal is a monkey. That was the sound on the other end, as if the child approved of my choice. Mine too. And we talked for a little while after that about monkeys, birds, and cows, and sheep, and I took the time to explain how wool was actually made from sheep and that we actually used it to get a lot of product. I never knew kids were so damn talkative. When eventually it was time to go, I found that I didn't even have the energy to reach over to the bottle. Instead, I just passed out in my clothes and with the lights on. Call number 2. I woke in the morning to another call. The noise cut through the half dreams and drilled its way into my skull. My mouth tasted like a sewer and spots swarmed on the center of my vision, forming and reforming like a private Rorschach test. Stags, skulls, bottles, lambs. Hello? My voice was straggled and rasping. It was the same laugh I'd heard before. You again? Who? Then it dawned on me. The child from last night. They dialed the wrong number again. Are you the kid from last night? There was a pause. Last night? Yeah, you called me last night. We talked about sheep or something. The voice took on a tone of gravity, in the manner that children use when they want to know that they're talking something serious, and they emulate every adult conversation they'd ever seen. That wasn't last night. You called me a month ago. My head pounded. I felt as if my scalp was being pulled tight over my drum. I'm pretty sure that was last night, kid. I tasted the blood from a nosebleed I'd had in the midday the day before. In fact, I'm certain of it. Are monkeys still your favorite animal? Well, it hasn't changed from last night. Last month. I didn't know how old this child was, or whether they knew the difference between days and months. I just thought to myself I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. Sure, monkeys are still my favorite. Well, I've got a new favorite. Oh, yeah? Yeah, it's, I could tell they were reading something, mumbling the words to themselves a couple times before finally saying it out loud. Venus flytrap. I couldn't help but smile. A Venus flytrap? Yeah, that. It's not an animal, kid. A noise of confusion and then... Hold on, let me get a pen. And like that, an hour disappeared that morning. I took the time to explain the difference, as far as I knew, between plants and animals, and I'll admit the gray area can be a little dicey. I was so invested, in fact, that it wasn't until I hung up the phone that I remembered why I was there. It all came back to me like an open wound. The walls of my room seemed to grow, and the space in front of me grew much emptier and emptier, filling itself with nothing until the emptiness had nowhere else to go but me. That evening the phone rang. This time I knew, at least, partially, what to expect. Call number 3. Hey. Hi. You haven't called for a while. I checked my watch. Sure, for, I'd say maybe 8 hours. 3 months for me. There was a strange sort of acceptance in the statement. 3 months for me. Accepted as only a child could. As if this strange, out-of-sync time was just another fact to be learnt, another quirk of the world that they were still discovering, and that sentiment was infectious. I found myself in this strange and vast hotel, accepting it too. 3 months, yeah, sure. What's new? Not much. Mom's got a new boyfriend, I think. She keeps putting on new perfume and I have to stay with Jenny. I could tell now it was a girl's voice. Must be hard. Not really. Jenny's 6, and she has a pool. And that's how my days began to pass, with a call in the morning and a call in the evening. Sometimes months would pass for her, sometimes only days, but time stayed regular for me. I began to curb my drinking a little, trying not to slur my words when we spoke in the evening, and hoping to be at least a little alert in the morning. She was curious, funny, determined, and smart. She didn't take no for an answer, and more than once she'd have me in stitches with the way that she stood up to her teachers. I told her what little I could about my life, avoiding all the grim details, settling with I'd just live in a hotel. That seemed to be enough for her. I could picture the connection in her head. Man on the phone, lives in a hotel. I didn't know if she was a ghost or a phantom of my imagination, some horrid trick conjured by the marionette of my brain for the years in hard liquor, but I pushed my thoughts to the side. There was something about the way that she saw the world that helped me, I think. Some wonder and amazement of things that I had taken for granted. I had forgotten what it was like to go to the beach without half a week worth of booze, forgotten what it was like to listen to an album for the first time without the aid of dope or hash. I'd forgotten what it was like to talk to a friend, without either of us wanting something from the other. Call number 18. Do you believe in God? A bit. Yeah, me too. I began to think that this was the universe's way of offering me a lifeline, a chance for me to make up for being an absent father, by helping this girl, whoever she was, wherever she was, whenever she was. Call number 22. I'm 12 today, voice. She called me Voice because her mom told her never to give a name to a stranger, and I called her Voice back, a little joke. 12, huh? That's right. Well, shit, time flies. Did you just swear? No. Sure you did. It's fine though. Mom swears all the time. Swears at people too. It sounds like she has a lot on her plate. I think so. And then there was a natural pause. Hey, Voice, can I ask you a question? Shoot. How do you cheer up a grown-up? When they're sad, she gets these moods and goes into her room for a few days at a time, and she won't talk. It was a big question, and I took my time answering. I wanted to get the answer just right. I realized, to help. Just be there for her when she needs you, I guess. How do I do that? Tell her you love her. Check up on her from time to time. I gave a bit more advice, and it was strange. I was nervous. I wanted to get this right so bad, and I was conscious that this would be put into practice, not just a theory. I rambled for a while, and then she cut me off. Hey, I have to go, thanks though. It helps having a grown-up to talk to. Time passed so fast for her. Before I knew it, she was crying about her first boyfriend at 14, caught stealing gum at 15, and moaning about her mom wouldn't letting her drink at 16. Call number 67. You sound just like my mom. I bit my lip. Look, Voice, I am an alcoholic. I know what I'm talking about. It ruined my life. Just be careful, okay? You're an alcoholic? My chest grew tighter. Shit. I was sure, but for a second I thought that she'd grown disgusted with me, grow angry at me for being such a failure, such a screw-up, and yeah, I am. That's cool. Shit, no, not cool, but it's cool that you were honest. I gotta go again. Call number 72. I don't think I like drinking. Oh yeah, really? Yeah, I forgot half of last night. I threw up on Mom's new boyfriend's coat, twice. We left. It made me sad as well. Like, really sad. Like there was something rotting inside of me, and I couldn't get it out. I let the statement breathe for a while, and thought about what to say next. It does that. It does? Yeah, until before long there's something rotten. She had thought for a moment. You're not rotten. This was my second chance, I was sure of it. Although I could never make it up to my daughter, I could at least help this girl. Call number 95. I got the job. Well shit, look at you, a biologist. And it only took what, 5 years of university? Hey, at least I got the job. She did have a point. Call number 127. Her voice was shaky but calm. Something was wrong, definitely. Something was very wrong. Before she even spoke, I could hear something in the background, shouting and grinding electrical sounds. Hey, I could tell that she was holding back tears. I felt sick. I felt sicker than I'd ever been drinking, and I hadn't touched a drop in weeks. A small tremor shaked in my hand. When she spoke again, her voice was shaking slightly. I tried calling you. You didn't pick up. This was the first call I got. Yeah, I know. Don't worry. What's wrong? The trip. The helicopter malfunctioned. Nothing we can do. About a minute before impact, I'm not gonna make it. I saw it then. To you it must be so obvious. You must have known this from the whole time. Perhaps part of me knew but didn't want to admit it, as if admitting it to myself. Admitting the fact that this voice was my daughter would ruin it, that I'd fuck it up somehow like I fucked it up so many times when I was actually with her. When she was real, tangible, and not just a voice on the phone. Maybe I was scared that if I admitted it and she found out somehow, detected it in my voice, that she'd tell me that she hated me and leave me. Tell me that she wished I'd done what I'd come to do the first night in the hotel. It was Agnes. It had always been Agnes. I had been drunk all of her life, the first round, and I had missed all the clues that must have tipped her off. Her mom, when she had moved, the fact she never spoke about her dad. And that's when she spoke up. I knew Dad, and hearing her voice made my heart ache. Made my heart ache still when I think about it. Hearing her call me that, Dad, a word I wasn't sure I'd even actually earned her to say. This whole time I knew Dad. I tried to fit a lifetime of apologies into one sentence, into one mouth, and they all just came tumbling out as half words, sobs. I'm so sorry, Agnes. I'm so sorry. I should have. I wasn't. It's okay, Dad. We were both crying now, and the noise in the background of her call was getting louder, more frantic. I have 30 seconds, Dad. I love you. I have always loved you. You know that, right? I'm so sorry. I haven't been there. I was never there for you. But Dad, you were. And it hit me then. And it hit me. I had been a sort of a father figure, sure, but I had never actually thought I was doing it for real. There was a scream in the background. How did you know? Someone near her was praying. What kind of daughter doesn't know the sound of their own dad's voice? I love you, Dad. And then nothing but static. I left the hotel shortly after. I wasn't surprised in the slightest when they waived the fee of my room entirely, and the knowing look of the staff made me think my suspicions had been correct. They had known. I thanked them and made my way out the door. I passed liquor store after liquor store on my walk into town, and despite wavering once or twice, I didn't enter a single one. I might never be the man she thought I was, but I can at least try. And I hope that wherever she is now she could see me, and I hope that just before I join her, she taps on the other spirits and whispers with pride, "That's my dad, and he loves me."